Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, when you really boil it down, money can buy you two things: stuff or freedom. And if you're someone who has tons of money, fortunately, you can afford to buy both. However, if you're an average person with a modest amount of money, you can't afford to buy both, but you have to choose which one you want: stuff or freedom. And for most people in this world, this decision is a no-brainer. Use your money to buy some stuff. And although it sounds crazy to say that out loud, when you look at our society and our spending habits, it is clear that we put a high priority on buying nice stuff and a very low priority on buying our freedom. And I think the reason for this is not because we don't value our freedom, but it's because society has fed us this consumerism narrative for so long that we think that buying stuff is the path to a happy, abundant life. However, the reality of following this consumeristic path is that it often leads people to the opposite of what they expect: a life of hardship and scarcity. But the truth is, a life of happiness and abundance is actually found through this path of buying your freedom. When you choose to stop buying so much stuff and start buying your freedom, there are many benefits that lead you to a happy, abundant life. And in this video, I want to talk about 7 of those benefits of choosing to prioritize buying your freedom over buying stuff. Now, the first benefit is you're no longer living in the past. So as I just said, many people will choose to buy stuff over freedom because they think that it will lead to a life of happiness and abundance. However, the reality is that it often leads them to a life of hardship and scarcity. And one of the reasons this happens is because when you spend all your money buying stuff, you make many bad decisions in the past that your present-day self eventually has to fix. And when you have to focus so much of your energy on fixing decisions that you made in the past, you end up living this life of regret where you can't fully live in the present. You live with more stress, you have to say no more often, and you get behind more easily. However, when you instead choose to prioritize buying your freedom and making good financial decisions, your present-day self never has to focus on fixing the bad past decisions and can focus more on living in the present. And so a huge benefit to buying your freedom is that you can live a life where you can focus more on living in the present, rather than living a life where you're focusing on fixing bad decisions your past self made. Now, the second benefit is that you're no longer scared of the future. So as I just said, many people will choose to use their money to buy stuff because they think it will lead them to a life of happiness and abundance. However, the reality is that it often leads them to a life of hardship and scarcity. And the first reason for this is because they have to live their life fixing their past decisions. But the other reason is that they have to live a life where they're constantly worried about the future. When you're so focused on fixing your past decisions, not only does it rob you of the present moment, but it also creates this anxiety where you're scared of the future because you're continuing to get behind financially and you're unable to take steps to prepare for the future. However, when you instead choose to prioritize your financial freedom and make good financial decisions, the future is less scary because you're making steps that will benefit your near future and far future. And so another benefit that comes with buying your freedom is that your future is more certain. When you take steps to prepare financially, you have a more optimistic image of what your future will look like rather than being scared of it. Now, the third benefit of buying your freedom is your financial life is less cluttered. Now, as I just mentioned, when you prioritize using your money to buy stuff instead of freedom, you live this life where you're regretful about the past, anxious about the future, and unable to live in the present. And you've created this financial life that is completely cluttered, where you have debts to pay, bills you need to catch up on, and scattered finances. When you live a life where you prioritize buying stuff over freedom, your financial life gets very chaotic, where it's hard to stay on top of your finances and impossible to get ahead. However, when instead you choose to buy your freedom and make good financial decisions, you don't have all of this clutter. Instead, it's much easier to stay on top of your finances because your finances are simple, which allows you to not overlook anything and get ahead. And so another benefit that comes with choosing to buy your freedom is that you have a lot less financial clutter. You don't have to worry about debt, getting behind, and overlooking anything, which brings you a lot more peace in your life. Now, the fourth benefit is your physical life is less cluttered. Now, another problem that comes with buying stuff over freedom, and the list goes on, is that your physical life is extremely cluttered. I mean, the average American's life is absurdly cluttered. However, this clutter is so normal that we don't see the absurdity to it. I mean, once we fill our living spaces with stuff, we fill our garages with stuff, then we fill our basements with stuff, and then when there's no more room, we take on an extra rent to fill up a storage unit with stuff. The average consumer has so much stuff that they'd have decided to take on an extra rent so their unused crap has a place to call home. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If we treated our fellow human beings as well as we treated our unused crap, the world would be a better place. Can I get an amen in the comment section? But all this clutter stresses us out. It makes it harder to be calm mentally. However, when you instead choose to prioritize your freedom and not just buy a bunch of useless crap, believe it or not, you end up with more peace of mind. And so another benefit that comes with buying your freedom is that your physical life isn't bombarded by possessions that mentally overwhelm you and control your life. Now, the fifth benefit is you have more control over your time. So up to this point in the video, we have spoken a lot about freedom, but what actually is freedom? Well, I think that when you really boil it down, freedom is just having the ability to have more control over your time. Freedom is the ability to do what you want, when you want, where you want to do it. And when you choose to prioritize buying stuff over freedom, you're basically saying that these material possessions are more valuable than your time. Because those material possessions force you to work more and limit your options. However, when instead you choose to buy your freedom and develop some level of financial security, you have more control over your time, which gives you the ability to work a little bit less and gives you the option to say no to things you don't want to do. When you choose to buy your freedom instead of stuff, you have more control over your time, which I think is the ultimate freedom. Now, the sixth benefit is you can take more risks that will probably work out. Last week, ladies and gentlemen, a special package came in the mail from me, and inside it was this, my play button. Welcome to the big, says YouTube. The channel of Austin Williams has 100,000 subscribers. And not to brag, but last month was actually my best financial month ever. In June of 2024, I made a grand total of $8,500. And if you do the math, that is a six-figure income. 2 years ago, I took the risk to quit my good-paying full-time job and go on the suicide mission to become a full-time YouTuber, and it has worked out. And the reason it has worked out is because 1, I have worked extremely hard the last 3 years. 2, I have been extremely analytical, where I have a good understanding of how to grow. But above all, the reason this has worked out is because before I quit my job to go all in on YouTube, I bought my freedom. You see, the reason this has worked out financially for me is because before I took the risks, 2 years prior, I had worked extremely hard and saved over $80,000, which gave me time to learn and grow when I wasn't making that much money. I mean, this month last year, I made a total of $1,400. Which even for a frugal person like me is not enough money to pay my bills. But because I chose to buy my financial freedom first before I took the risks, I had the time, money, and resources to learn, make mistakes, and grow, which has ultimately allowed me to make a living being in a much better financial spot doing this than I was at my past job. But when you choose to buy your freedom, you can take risks. And because you have the financial resources, the odds of your risk paying off are a lot higher. Now, the final benefit is you can afford the life you want. Now, I want to finish this video by saying that there's nothing wrong with having nice things and wanting to live a comfortable life. The problem, however, is that most people end up never achieving freedom in life and are forever trapped in this rat race of living paycheck to paycheck because they think that you can buy stuff first and freedom second. But it doesn't work that way. In order to achieve freedom in life while still having nice things, you must pursue it in this order. You must buy your freedom first and then buy stuff second. Before you can afford to live the life you want, you have to make sacrifices to get out of debt, develop a financial safety net, and make sure your future self is secure. That is the only way it'll work, and it takes time. However, once you reach the point where you can buy your financial freedom, you can use that freedom to buy the life you want. So don't get caught up in this consumeristic rat race and spend all of your money buying a bunch of stuff, and instead buy your freedom. And once you have your freedom, use it to buy the life you want. And with that, muchas gracias, que tengan un buen día, nos vemos chicos.